Hi, everybody. Oh, I look a little disheveled today. I want to talk about clutter. Of course, I have a kitten, so I have additional clutter. Can you hear her? Okay, don't step on the keys. Hello. Say hello. Hi. I'm the cutie. I'm Zara Moon. Zara meaning radiance. Think Zarathustra, Zoroaster, or just radiance. And Moon, because we had a beloved black lab who grew up alongside of my daughter and lived to be 13. Saw her through her first week of college several years ago, and then moved over the rainbow bridge, as they say. And her name was Isis Moon. And so when it came time to naming Zara, Carly wanted to have Isis honored by having Zara with the same middle name, so Zara Moon. Anyway, she adds to my clutter right now because wherever there's a pile of anything, it becomes a pile of clutter and a mess. But I woke up, I probably grew up thinking about it too, but I woke up thinking about clutter, just looking around my house, and I can't stand it some days. I just can't stand it. On the other hand, I know that a lot of it will not be here when I'm living alone, or at least when the children have moved out. And there's something kind of poignant about that for me. I don't want to rush it, even though I'm frustrated by the clutter. And yes, some of it's mine, partly because there's no other place to put it because all of the space is taken. But I do think that parents have a responsibility, when they can, to store the clutter of the children, to be the repository of the memories, and the storage space for all of that until they're not anymore. Anyway, it helped me to think about, in terms of, here she comes, of spiritual clutter. And I know we've kind of talked about this topic a little bit before, but how do we declutter our spiritual space? I don't know the answer really to that, except to say that we need to be intentional and not hold on to things that we no longer believe in, that just aren't true for us anymore. Can you tell I have someone behind my screen moving my laptop around? Sorry. We hold on to an awful lot of things. I should feel this way. I shouldn't feel that way. I should believe this. I mustn't believe that. I should say these words because they're tried and true, and maybe they won't be efficacious if I don't say exactly those same words when I'm praying. We should on ourselves a lot. Jeepers, hold on here. In addition to her, I just saw this huge hawk land outside on I live in the middle of the city, and it is a huge hawk. We're talking probably about 3 or 4 foot wingspan. Huge hawk, now atop a telephone pole. Wow. It's just a nature conservancy here. I don't think I want to watch the hawk hunt. But back to clutter. I think spiritually we hang on to things a lot longer. I mean, we see it with churches, congregations hanging on to the church buildings longer than they should. That's kind of the ultimate in hanging on to clutter, in my opinion. But that's because I'm with a congregation that didn't do that and found ourselves much more alive when we ditched the building. But I'm thinking also about how we do it individually. Do we insist on having prayers said the same way? Lately, I've been mixing things up with the Lord's Prayer and using different versions. Lately, probably for all my life, but I've been more intentional about it the last 3 months. And although I know people miss the old because it's familiar, and that brings its own sort of comfort, They also tell me that it helps them to think about the wording and what they're really praying about or praying for. I think that's why I like the Message version of the Bible sometimes. For my own reading, I probably wouldn't use it if I were looking for comfort, but to get things stirred up so that I'm not always just assuming that I'm falling, that I know what's going to happen because I fall back into old habits. I think it's good for that. Oh, I see a tail over the top. Yeah, what's the matter? Clutter. What do you do with clutter? Well, sometimes we re-gift it. Sometimes we recycle it. Sometimes we throw it away. Sometimes I think we choose to hang on to it, and we do that because it has, we know it has a meaning then. It has a special meaning. It's, there's something about being intentional about it, and then it's no longer clutter. It's a prized possession, or it's memorabilia, or something other than the word clutter, which has kind of a pejorative association with it, doesn't it? What do you do, and how do you get rid of clutter, first off, in your own home? Have you done that? Have you had the series of purges that we're all supposed to have as we age and try to minimize our existence, and go to a just almost a Spartan approach sometimes? Do you do that? How do you do that? My mother was forever, towards the end of her life, trying to give things away so I wouldn't be saddled with them and having to figure out what to do with them. Thank goodness she did, because it was hard enough dealing with what was left, and some of which I still have in my cellar. I mean, it takes time and effort to really declutter our lives, and whole books are written about it, of course. So how do we do that with our spiritual lives? I don't know. I think maybe by being very intentional, by breaking the habit of just doing things, and instead inserting the habit of, before we do anything, pray, sing, go to church, be a part of any group, we intentionally ask ourselves why we're doing it, what we are hoping to get from it, if we believe the words we are saying. I was always so impressed when my father especially, but some other people in the congregation when I was growing up, we'd be reading something like one of the creeds in worship, and people would drop out and not say certain words. And I asked Dad about it once, and he said, well, I don't believe that part. And I thought, wowza, can you still be a Christian if you don't believe all the parts? Of course you can. And what do you believe instead of that? And it launched great conversations around our dinner table. But I think a lot of us just take it for granted that we're supposed to say certain things. Who is Jesus to you? Oh, Jesus Christ is my personal Lord and Savior. I've heard that from many, many people in my lifetime. What does that mean? If you use those words, what do they mean to you? What do they stand for? Would you substitute other words that mean more to you? Decluttering our spiritual lives. That's the topic for this weekend. I hope you'll think about it over the next couple of days. Well, and beyond that too, but at least give you something to think of during this time. Are we just rote learners? Because that's how most of us learn things like the Lord's Prayer or the Apostles' Creed. I mean, it was by rote when we were little. But we're not little anymore. we need to take responsibility for what we say and what we believe, and to mean what we say and say what we mean. In other words, believe what we say and say what we believe. I think if we do that, it will declutter our spiritual lives a lot, and we'll get down to the essence of what our values are and what our belief system is, and we will look at our relationships with God and with Jesus and with the Spirit, and maybe there are other manifestations of God that you really relate to, music, nature, whatever it is. So that's the charge for today, kids. Thanks for joining me for this prayerful pause with the pastor. I'm Pastor Deb Swift, South Presbyterian Church in Rochester, New York. It's Friday, so I'm going to say it again. If you are in a position to support this ministry with your prayers, we hope that you are doing that. And with your finances, we will always be happy to receive those gifts. Everything goes right into the production of my ability to be here and for our ability to put it up online. And you reach out and you help other people. Oh my gosh, what a great way to spend a buck. There's information on the end of this video about how to get in touch with us. You can either do it physically through the Postal Service or, of course, electronically. Either way, it's your prayers that we really covet. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time. And for right now, go figure out how to declutter your spiritual life, at least to start over the weekend. We'll see you next time. And until then, God bless. Take care and bye for now.